on a coaching shirt, but I couldn't find it in the dock.
Well, and you couldn't see you anyways, so it's no use wearing it. So welcome everyone. So Sue and I have been at this for quite a while. If you don't know me, my name's Kara. I literally live up here in the tundra. I have not left my house today, which I'm very thankful for. Last night on my way home, it was minus 22 degrees, real temperature, minus 40 something wind chill factor. It's literally been a nightmare the last week, and it's looking like it's not going to be good for a little bit further here, which is why I decided to book my family a trip to Florida in about a week. So I haven't talked to Sue about that yet. Sue, I'm going to be gone pretty soon for a week again. So anyways, welcome. I've had my own home therapy practice, mobile hybrid practice for over 4 years now. And we've been doing next level OT for about 3 years now. So welcome. Happy to have you all here. Sue, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Sue Doyle. I'm on the West Coast in Washington, and we're about to head into an ice storm. But right now, for some reason, our power's out. So I have my trusty little lantern. And for some reason, my internet just came right back on in time for this. So this is great. I've had my own mobile med Part B home modification practice going on to 7 years now. I've been an OT for 42. So this is my second time around for a private practice. And Cara and I have been with each other since 6 a.m. this morning, my time. So yeah, yep. It's been a fun day.
Yes, in between that, I've been doing other things. So yeah, so let's get started now. Okay, we really want to answer your questions. So there's a good mix of you guys that are wanting to start your practice, and there's a good chunk of you that are in here for growing your practice as well. So the slides, I feel, are a lot of talking points, and if you guys know us, we can talk, probably too much, obviously, at times. But if you have specific questions, we want to answer those. So it probably would be best to put your specific questions that you really want answered tonight in the Q&A section, because then we constantly see those versus them getting lost in the chat section. But we want to really answer those. And today, I better share my screen here. So we're making this a New Year's festive presentation because literally I feel as every day, week, month goes on, there's more and more pushing Sue has lights, pushing people into starting a private practice. And I feel that a lot of people don't always know what they're getting themselves into. So some of the things we're going to talk about tonight has actually come from some of the people that are currently in our coaching programs that have said maybe like, I wish I would have known this before I did this, or now I'm thinking this, because we tend to see a lot of the positives and how you can make 6 figures. My biggest pet peeve, you can make 6 figures in 60 days or 90 days or 30 days or whatever. And we really try to speak the truth here and tell you what it's really like. So we want to highlight those things. And then hopefully also, if you guys already have a practice and are struggling, trying to give you some tips on growing. And I'm going to kind of go into my journey over the last 4 years, and we'll talk about the growth, the lack of growth, what was going on that made it kind of stay where it was before we grew. Because I think a lot of times we need to take a step back and see what else is going on. So hopefully that will help some of you as well. And we can use that as a talking point as we go. So yeah, so let's get started. Sue, are we recorded? I just want to make sure before I
Yes.
start. Okay. I have a tendency to do that.
I checked that.
I've been a therapist for 22 years. Luckily, can easily remember that because I graduated in December of 2000 from the University of South Dakota in Vermilion. So services provided. So I started our practice in July of 2018 as a mobile therapy service, just as a side gig. I was teaching at Northland Community College. I was the academic fieldwork coordinator and I taught. We now have a clinic space. We contract with other companies. We have a variety of different special programming things that we do. We do focus on geriatrics, but we do see all ages. It's one of those things is once you're kind of out there and people know you, they can want to have you see other people in their family. So that's kind of how that's diversified. We do home mods, skills to care. We do a lot for clients with dementia and their caregivers, neuro, ortho. The newest thing that we've added that is totally not within my wheelhouse whatsoever is women's health. I hired an amazing physical therapist in August. She started and she is a PT pelvic health specialist, and that has gone amazing. And I'm learning a lot in that area. We went and talked to a couple of physicians recently, and yeah, I mean, it's not my wheelhouse to talk about it, but I can sure promote it, I guess. So why I started a private practice, again, flexibility, and really to be able to provide quality therapy services, because I was sick and tired of, for those of you that are OTs, especially as an academic fieldwork coordinator, I was really sick and tired of OT putting people on an arm bike, TheraBand, dowels, walking, things like that. My students coming and saying, we don't see anything you teach in the clinic. And so I decided to take it into my own hands and start my own practice. So, and Sue, tell us a little bit more about your journey. Well, maybe, did we lose her again? Okay, Sue might be coming in and out because they have some funky weather things going on. So I'll continue and we can have her go on a little bit more when she comes in. I will say though that she has a mobile and clinic-based practice. She does a ton in home safety and accessibility. Obviously I'm very biased, but I really don't think you're going to find anyone that knows home mods better than Sue. She also, I mean, she pretty much knows everything. I can say that now that she's not in here listening to us. But she also does a ton with wheelchair positioning. She works a ton with individuals with developmental disabilities, and she taught for many years. There's pretty much not much that she doesn't know. We were recently at a live event in Florida in November. And so we just spent a lot of time sitting around and just visiting and talking. And I was sitting there listening to Sue, who's from Australia, Mike, who's from the Philippines, Steve, he's from Ukraine, and they're all pretty darn knowledgeable about things, but I'm just sitting there amazed listening to them and all the stuff that they know. So, oh, and Anthony was there. So way above my knowledge level in a lot of different things. So it has been really a huge benefit to have her help with everything we do in Next Level OT. So, so the objectives as we go through, we're going to talk about the positives. We're going to talk about the negatives. We want you to be able to understand the basic timeline and commitment required. Again, I'm going to preach a little bit here because I feel like people don't truly understand the commitment required to do something like this. And I feel like sometimes we do promote it probably too much. without really highlighting the commitment. So I'm thinking like whenever we help someone, I should almost make them sign a form that says, yes, I know these are positives, these are the negatives. I'm committed to do this, because it is harder than some people think once they get into it. Again, I know some of you guys have some great practices out there. So as we go through this, please comment in the chat section. So I would love to hear from you to help other people that are wanting to start their business as well. So we're going to start with the positives. And before I even share the screen, I want to hear from you. Kim, I want to hear from you guys. What are the positives of starting a private practice? And make sure you're sharing with everyone so we all can see what you guys feel are the positives of starting a private practice. So flexibility. Again, that's one of my number ones. I will tell you that's one of my number ones. OTs in people's home environment, see how it really is. You report to yourself, independence, good. Control and freedom, time for quality intervention, have freedom to treat how you would like to. I love making my own rules, quality. Yeah. So literally seeing everything you guys are putting here, you're totally 100% like in our realm, our people, and so forth. So yeah, 100% agree with everything. Oh, she's back. Great. Okay. No micromanagement. Awesome. Okay. So Sue, they're listing the positives of starting a private practice. And really every single thing is really geared towards what we kind of preach are the positives. And I will highlight that I don't think there was a single person in here that put finances or financial freedom as the positives, which I tend to feel that people that want to do this kind of practice, a lot of us are, I mean, yeah, we want to make good money and be able to do what we want, but we're also more so on the line of being able to provide the best services, not having to deal with other people telling us what to do, being able to work in the environment we want to work and all that kind of stuff. So 100% agree. So the main list that Sue and I talked about was you control the quality, you control the productivity, yeah, less drama, you control your time off, opportunity to try innovative care, able to practice your full scope of practice, meaningful rewards from the clients and families, positive work environment for employees, impact on the community, financially can be beneficial if done correctly. And that's where, you just have to be knowledgeable about what is a what can you I can't say that word, legitimately do with a business that you want to do. You need to think about it. The promises out there where people are saying, 6 figures in 30 days or $1 million in, 6 months or whatever. Okay. I mean, we need to be realistic here. And we really want to kind of show all of the different things that go into it that aren't always shared with that. And then of course, there are great benefits of owning a business in of itself, right? With as far as, the different deductions and things that come along. Sue, anything else you want to add to the positives?
I think it just changes some of the relationship with your clients. It's such a different relationship, and there's more commitment each way.
Yeah, for sure. So my husband's a psychologist, and he's pretty set and firm on relationships and so forth. But I will say that, and someone here will probably say that's not right, but a lot of our clients are like part of the family with our therapists and clients. I mean, they share a ton with us. Like we're often the first call if something goes wrong or they need something, or if there's a death or, so it's just different. And I love the fact that we're not just working with clients, we're able to work with the whole family, the caregivers, the other people in the community, and really create this better system for people.
And there's nothing better than hearing, I've had therapy before, but nobody's ever helped me like you have, and nobody's ever done what you've done for us. And that's just so commonplace.
Exactly. Okay, but there are negatives, and I think we want to get the negatives out so you guys are aware of the negatives. But for those of you that already have a business, what are the negatives of starting a business, a therapy type business? And those of you that are looking at starting a business, what are the negatives? So navigation of Medicaid. Okay, good. What other negatives? Growing the business into a full schedule.
We'll talk about that because it takes time.
Male employees tell me how I should run my business.
Yes.
Full liability, don't know what you don't know. Restrictive insurance, financial commitment, marketing, referrals, especially in Florida, learning how to do the billing, time commitment, yes, overwhelmed with administrative responsibility, billing. Yeah, all super great ones. Time. Yes, time away from family. Overhead, paperwork, marketing, how to find correct clients.
One thing though, I'm going to say we don't have a lot of overhead in this type of business.
Reese has a good point. You know, have to be able to do all areas. Trained to go out and apply for jobs, right? We're not trained to start a business and so forth. So we do have a lot to learn, and therapists don't realize what they need to learn. I didn't. Feeling isolated without coworkers. I do have a brick and mortar expensive location. Yes. If you have a brick and mortar, a clinic space, that's another thing. We've seen people starting their practice that don't have any clients that, well, actually, Sue and I were meeting with some other colleagues, and they were telling us about someone who started their own practice in a clinic, has been paying rent for like over a year, and has had, wasn't it like one client, Sue? I mean, that's just not even smart here. I mean, I would just be stressed. Have to be jack of all trades. Okay, yeah. So there are tons of negatives too. And I think it's important that we are just educated on the negatives, because there are things that we can do to help improve these situations, but it's also just good to know these negatives exist. So
I think one that came up as well is the isolation sense, and being a business owner and a CEO can be isolating. And so I think we're going to talk about some of that as we go as well.
Yeah. So taking too much time. So we see this, that, you know, some therapists think they can get up and going quickly, and it's taking longer than they thought. Or we have some therapists with great intentions. They're going to get up and going, but then life happens. You know, they've had a death in the family, or they've had an injury, or they have COVID. Sometimes the stresses like that can come with starting a business are too draining or too overwhelming that they just give up before they even start. So some of these things are things we've gotten recently. This is one that I had send me a message recently. They started off their business with a bunch of clients, and now they don't have any. Some people say it's just too stressful. Not as easy as I thought, because again, social media and marketing people out there are making it seem like it's the easiest thing in the world. Led to believe, this is another one that we have seen a lot. They're led to believe a cash-based practice is easy and profitable, and they can't make it work. So for instance, we had someone say they started cash and they cannot make it work. Now they need to add insurance, and they're just not knowing what to do. Ooh, Reese, Yes, we need to add that one to our list, Sue. What do you do if you're injured or become ill and you are the only person running your business?
And
And
I
that,
experienced that.
yeah, Sue has experienced this firsthand, literally.
I broke my foot and I'm non-weight bearing for 6 weeks.
Yeah. And this is where we stress the importance of having, your growth plan, and then you having contingency plans and you having this all in place. We also have, it's not even just becoming injured or sick. A lot of us start these businesses, at least I did, because I want the time freedom and I want to be able to travel. Well, who's going to cover you when you're gone? Alyssa, yes, we didn't even put that one down. Sue, we're slacking. Getting your own health insurance and retirement plans. Cannot make as much money as I was led to believe. So we get this one a lot because people are seeing that people are making so much money. I mean, first of all, you don't really know what goes on behind the scenes with a lot of people. They might make it seem good or bad or whatever. But anyways, we've had some lately that are frustrated because they thought they were going to be able to make more money and they just don't see it coming and so forth. Yes, Holly, that's what I did when I first started. But I also immediately had someone to fill in for me on vacations. But yeah, you can load, front load, back load and stuff. So yeah, great suggestions. Let's see, may make more when working for someone. Now, that's just it. Some people get started and then they give up because they're like, I was making more when I was working for someone else. But that's where we talk about, and Kim is talking about this now. Kimberly, you need to change it so you're talking to everyone so people can learn from you. So to many of us, there are more benefits than the money, the flexibility, the better work environment and so forth when you're running your own business might be better than working for someone and getting paid more. Again, that's going to be your own personal judgment there. But we have had people try to start their business, then, realize that. So liabilities and risk involved. This is probably one of the hugest. People are just starting their practices and they don't understand the liabilities and the risk that is involved. And then they, after the fact, realize it and kind of freak out and they don't have anything in place. Cannot find staff. That's a tough one for many people. Do not know how to do billing. You guys as mess already said that. Being misled by other social media, compliance, found out I need to deal with insurance and I don't know what to do. So those are some of the negatives that we hear. But go back to, like Kimberly said, all cons are less than all pros by far. I'd sooner eat dog food than have an employer now, and I'm never eating dog food ever. So again, Sue and I are both pro starting businesses, but we're also pro making sure everyone knows the positives and negatives. And we really want you to know that it's a big time commitment. There's a lot of stuff you need to do. You have to be relentless and you can't give up if you're going to do this.
I just received an email from the Small Business Association on a webinar, and their things were commitment, direction, and action were the things that make a business successful. And so it is a commitment. It does work in the end, but you have to have that commitment up front. And no, I'm not eating dog food either. But I just did make some pretty good stuff for my dog, I must admit.
The other thing, and Sue, it made me think of this when you were talking about the Small Business Association and so forth. So another thing we see is most all communities have some resources for small business owners, some fabulous and excellent, but therapy practices are different than a lot of small business owners. I just finished a 6-month mastermind, and I was the only one really in the health related field. And, you know, they had no idea the different things that we deal with, even like the big top coach, you know, he doesn't understand the compliance we have to deal with, the HIPAA, you know, other stuff like that. So I think people use some of these resources to get started, but they're kind of misled with some of the information that's out there. Okay, so now we'll get a little personal here, and I'll show you my journey over the last 4 years. And we're showing you this once my coaches told me I should share it, because it gives you guys an idea of how things can grow over time. Samuel, yes. Well, hopefully, let's talk about this. Okay. So my journey. So I started my business in July of 2018. And again, I was a full-time academic fieldwork coordinator, and I taught. Now at universities, I was always jealous because their academic fieldwork coordinators are academic fieldwork coordinators. We're academic fieldwork coordinators, and we taught 32 credits. So I was busy when I started my business. And I started it clueless. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just, you know, thought I'd start it. So in July of 2018, Home Therapy Solutions started as a side gig. That year in 2018, my business, and now these are gross profits, not net, or gross income, I mean, not net, for several factors, and we can talk about that later. But so in July of 2018, 5,350 was my whopping business profit that year. April of 2019, I went to the National AOTA conference as an educator. And it was at this conference that they were taught the incoming and outcoming. Yeah. How many days a week? Every day of the week. How many hours? Probably every hour of the day, if you ask my family. But at that conference, the incoming and outgoing AOTA president was talking about that the wave of the future for OT, I know we have PTs in here too, is entrepreneurship. And I'm like, great. I 100%, I got up, wanted to be one of the first people up there to say, I 100% believe you, but what are you doing to help support us? Because I started my business in July. I've been trying to find resources and help for this. The APTA has tons. What do you guys have? They told me to find a good business conference. In May, I went to SSPT Live, and all these PTs were there that had their own businesses. I got totally just motivated, and then I decided to start Next Level Occupational Therapy. So not only was I doing academic fieldwork coordinator, teaching 32 credits, having my own business, I decided to start Next Level Occupational Therapy. Then in August, I decided to I created Next Level into an LLC, because my coaches at that time also told me that it was good to have multiple streams of income, and so forth. So I started a podcast, a YouTube channel, a visionary membership group. And in October of 2019, we started our Therapy Business Builder program. So Home Therapy Solutions, again, was primarily me. I did have a few independent contractors, and our gross was $71,000 that year. But again, what problems do you guys see here? I mean, was I focused at all on Home Therapy Solutions? I mean, and what kind of quality of life really was going on here? Obviously, as you know, I can't remember who asked me, but Kaya, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Again, I was doing way too much, and we tend to see people trying to do way too much too. So yeah, I mean,
this is when I met Cara, and
Yep.
long discussions about this until this.
Oh, it gets better, people. Okay, so December of 2019 was when I left my teaching position. Okay, so starting in January of 2020, I went all in with home therapy solutions and then kind of all in with Next Level and our therapy business builder programs and so forth. April of 2020, we continue with therapy business builder, doing different things. We put on a summit because who doesn't put on a summit? This is when Sue and I started working together. We started the home safety program. Javier is a good friend, and Javier and I started this side gig challenge and startup program. And at the Next Level experience in November, we just laughed at each other. We're like, stupidest thing we ever did. I helped be a mastermind coach, more therapy business builder, so forth. Okay. Home therapy solutions in 2020, 88,000. And where was I this year?
Middle of COVID.
Yeah, and COVID, but 71,000. Again, I am doing way too many things, and we see people doing this, right? January 2021. Okay, so April 2021, I finally figured things out a little bit better for our therapy business builder programs, and we transitioned into a level 1 and level 2 program, and that made the biggest difference ever for them and for us. In July of 2021, I finally actually hired my first employee, a part-time physical therapist who actually worked full-time. I hired a full-time OT in August of 2021. My independent contractor PT, I transitioned to a full-time PT. November of 2021, I hired a PRN OT. I brought on another full-time OT for maternity leave. So what do you see in 2021 that was a difference that made the jump from 88 to 200 and almost 50? Anyone see any? Delegation, focus, less juggling. Yes. Calmer. Oh yeah, 100%. And I will tell you, so Will and Alex, and I have multiple coaches, but Will and Alex had sat me down, and because it also depends on your coaches too. I mean, some coaches are all about wanting you to make $1 million, right? Other coaches are all about quality of life, and what do you really want and so forth. And, and Alex and Will, we do a lot together in our programs, and their coaches and their friends and so forth. But it was them really sitting down with me, and, they were all about the transitioning to the level 1 and 2 and making these changes. And they were all about what do you really need to make in order to be happy? It's not about making millions or whatever out there, and what do you want to do? So figure out, and like for us, for our family, it's about my kids being able to, go to college, and us helping support them, but also them working and so forth as well. But we like to travel, and, we want to set up for retirement. So I found my numbers, and I figured out what I needed and what I wanted. So I was really able to focus. But another thing is what Heather said. Literally, once I started actually hiring employees, not independent contractors, but once I actually decided I was going to make this a true business and did employees and develop that culture, that's when it boomed. Okay. And you'll see a little bit more as we get going here and March, because I will tell you this income boost is because of September, October, November, December. It wasn't from way back, the first of the year, because I was still not focused then. Okay, so now in August of 2022, so just recently, is when I went on a expansion run. So hired a new full-time PT, hired a new full-time OT, started a clinic space, 2 new PTs in September, October. We started pelvic health. We started cognitive stimulation therapy, which is on my wall behind me. And starting in June, I think it was June or July, is when I finally removed myself and started working on my business, not in my business. So I really don't see clients anymore. I just am focused on working on my business. So in 2022, we're projecting over 600,000. So again, over double what we did in 2021. But I will tell you, I really didn't get clearly focused and really start working on my business, like I mentioned, until probably July, September. So our big jump again is at the end of the year, making some of those changes. So besides what I already clearly stated, what is different from 2021 to 2022 that allowed the jump in income? Oh, this is only home therapy solutions income. Yeah, this has nothing with Next Level. Yeah. I mean, again, it's literally, I truly believe it was me realizing that I needed to learn if I wanted the business to grow and what my direction was, that I needed to actually hire, bring on the employees, and give them the tools and skills they need. Oh, another thing I didn't mention is one of the absolute best moves was having one of my OTs is the therapy manager. Best move ever. And I will have to say that my business coordinator is an OTA, and I would literally be lost without her. I was telling everyone in a meeting last week that she called me on a Saturday night, and it was like at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and the phone rang. And I literally got to the point where I was going to throw up and did not want to answer the number because I was worried she could call me and tell me that she was going to quit, because she's so essential to my business. And that's where it goes back to what some of you guys were talking about earlier, needing to have a contingency plan in place for this. But anyways, so that's kind of been our journey over the course of time, and my vision has changed. So, do I miss seeing patients? There was a time, probably not even a year ago, that like I told Anthony, I would never not see patients, that I would always continue to see patients. And with some of our different programs and some of the different things we do, I still get the patient interaction here and there. And if there's a huge need, I'll go in and see someone. It's better I don't, because I don't get my paperwork done. Cheyenne is emailing me that I'm out of compliance. I mean, it's just much better that I don't, that I focus on this kind of stuff. But yeah, so there's our projected revenue for 2023. And again, I'm hoping with some of the things that we have planned that will hit it. But I will also say within this journey, there has been so many downs, probably more downs than good. I mean, Sue gets to hear them all, but that's why what we're going to talk about in a little bit is you really have to have a good plan. because healthcare is insane. The amount of stuff that goes on in our area that shifts and changes and affects your referrals and so much, it's just crazy. Also, I went through a huge audit this year because I shifted payroll from one source from one business to another, which was totally legit. But when you do that, it creates a flag. And in our mastermind group, we're talking with other businesses who've gone through this. So I had to go through a major audit, which we passed with flying colors, but that's stressful. What other stresses were stressful? I don't know. I mean, it seemed like there was always something there that, there's always something that goes along the line. So finding the right people is huge. And I will tell you, that was tough, but now I get people that are asking to work for us. And I have a list of people that would like to work for us, but I will also tell you that there's a lot of people that are unrealistic when they want to come work for us, because I can't pay them what a lot of people think they should be getting paid because they have no clue. Like a lot of our clients are Medicare clients. We have to be knowledgeable about what our reimbursement really is. And that's another thing we see is a lot of people set their fee schedules, or when they're setting their fee schedules and then what they're paying their therapists don't make sense. And then they don't end up making it work. So hopefully this helps you see what you can do, but hopefully it also shows you how the lack of focus, what that does, trying to do too many things, like seriously, obviously we love you on social media because that's how you find us, but you'd really be better off not being on social media because of the stuff that's out there.
They need to just stay on our social media,
yeah.
Right?
But it's just crazy. And I still have to try to hold myself back on trying to do new things and stuff. And there's even things on here I didn't put that I've tried and it's just stupid. Not the smartest thing in the book, but luckily I've had people to help guide me along the way. So what we feel for those of you that want to start a business and want to even grow your business further is that you really have to be committed. Okay. And so these are some things that we feel we almost need to create, like this oath that you have to sign before you can start a business, right? But that you must understand that you will not have more time. In fact, it will take a lot of your time, especially in the early stages. Now, selfish side plug, we save you a ton of time if you do our programs because you get literally everything we've developed over the years, which I was telling my husband before I did this webinar, I'm like, sometimes I have to really bite my tongue because everything we've created is what I would have given anything to have when I started my business. But people don't realize that until they've already struggled long enough to try to do it on their own. So if you're going to do it all on your own, you have to realize it's going to take a ton of time. You have to be willing to get out there and build relationships. You cannot rely on sending out emails, letters, and doing lunches. You have to have multiple sources for referrals. You cannot rely on one source. Again, things happen. We've had our biggest referral sources leave town, switch positions, something happened to them. We've had agencies we contract with that they decide to hire in. There's always things that happen. There's like a big company in town that joined with another big company. That impacts everything. You can't rely on one and get comfortable. I feel like you can never get comfortable. The moment I start to get comfortable and feel like everything's okay, that's when shit hits the fan, or the ceiling, or whatever the saying is. So you need to understand compliance. People do not understand compliance. Go on the Office of Inspector General's website, you guys. We have to be in compliance. There's a lot of people that say just go out and start a business. yes, you need to take the action and do it, but you also have to understand the compliance side of things. And there's lots of different areas. I think probably Sue and I's one of our biggest pet peeves is the whole independent contractor versus employee stuff that's going on. And if you don't know, the IRS hired, what was the number? 88,000?
7,000 and added guns.
Yeah. And that's just, again, there's so many people that are not, they're using independent contractors versus employees. And once these independent contractors get smart enough and report these people, then they're going to wish they would have thought twice before they had independent contractors. You can't get up. You have to have that relentless, you have a downer, you're going to have to get. Now, I will tell you, I've had down moments where it's taken me a few weeks to climb up out of that mountain. But that's where you have a team and support to help you with that. Okay. You need to.
I think, Tara, what people expect is they go into business and it's going to be a straight upward line. And even though yours showed that, it hasn't been. It's been an up and down in the middle of that. And I think we get upset or think we're to blame or at fault or we've done something wrong when that happens. And I think we need to understand that is business, right? That is life. And that's how we need to go. So I think
no, it would have been better, probably more downs than up time. You really need to be willing to get help coached by someone that knows what they are doing, not relying on social media. Go read the literature on what makes businesses successful. And I firsthand, I mean, there was no way in a million years I was going to pay money to have a coach or anything or pay money for things when I started. But it wasn't until I got coaching that I was able to move forward. This was one of our biggest mistakes. You need to learn task yourself versus having others do it for you. So when we first started the Therapy Business Builder program, one of my, coaches told me, when you were starting your business, what would you have wanted? And of course I was like, everything to be done for me. So it was up and set up and ready to go. So that's what we did with the Therapy Business Builder program. Initially, we did everything for everyone. Well, I think back and I'm like, that was so stupid because that just creates learned helplessness, right? Because then we were having therapists that didn't know how to do their own credentialing, or if they needed to change their location, or if they needed to add on an employee, or they moved from one state to the other. Or people are saying
a business person got sick, or that, and the or thens that you can face are innumerable.
The billing, when people don't learn billing and they just hire out, they have no idea some of the mistakes. I mean, I can tell you horror stories about therapists coming to us with billers and what they did, and the therapist not realizing it till it was too late. So again, we've shifted from that, and our goal is to teach people how to do all of this up front. And then once it gets to the point, then you can delegate things out, like Sue had added in here. Know when it's right to delegate things out and so forth. So that was definitely one of our biggest failures in the level when we first started, and it's much better. And Sue and I still get people saying, can you just do it for us? We're like, Sue maybe caves sometimes. I'm like, no, you have to do it themselves. Budget, have a budget, understand what you can make sure you're paying yourself. This was something that a therapist brought up to us and asked if we would make sure we shared with people. I'm like, yeah, sure. It's important that you're paying yourself, because that can impact you when you're going out to buy a car. And now you haven't paid yourself with your business, and now you can't get any financing and so forth. You need to set up your finances appropriately. I mean, there's so many things out there that people don't understand in this area. And it's a huge area. Also make sure you have a good bookkeeper and accountant. I mean, I can tell you firsthand from not having a good bookkeeper and accountant on how costly that can be to your business. And number 10 should actually probably be number 1. You need to know what your final destination is so you can get on the right path to get there. And this is probably one of the biggest things that really stuck out from my mastermind coaching over the last 6 months is he made a picture and showed how people who know where they're going, they take the steps that are needed. And when other obstacles kind of come at, you ask yourself, does that help me get to where I'm going? If it doesn't, you don't do it and you keep going. But what he showed in reverse is a lot of people, they don't really know what they're doing. They just take massive action and start, and they're going backwards and they're doing all of these different things and they don't ever really get to where they needed to be. So that's
why we have that whole talk about shiny object syndrome as well, because sometimes there's things in business that are hard, and that new thing out there that we see someone else doing and we see it on the internet seems so much easier that we figure, well, we'll go there and that'll be easier instead of solving the problem that we have.
Yeah. Oh, and Holly, not sure if this is helpful for anyone, but when I started my practice, I switched my mindset away from measuring time and policing myself. Now I measure personal and professional satisfaction. Instead, this has relieved a ton of stress for me. That's awesome. Very important. And she shared a book, Off Balance by Matthew Kelly, that was life-changing for her. Awesome.
That's a new one. I haven't heard of that one with all the books.
We have to add that to our list. We're going to steal that from you. Another one for, and we'll get to that. I keep going. So if you guys have any other things to add to your list, but we feel that when people start a business, these are some of the really crucial things that they need to understand and almost write down so they know this. Okay, so we're going to talk about some tips that will hopefully help you guys. Sue, we did it again. It's already 8. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Send you a message, Clara. But
we'll fly through this. What you need to know: not all states are the same. When you're setting up your business in your state, it might not be like another state. So when someone tells you, oh, I set up an LLC, that doesn't mean you can set up an LLC in your state. Or supervision requirements, or insurances. That's another big one we see. Board of Education requirements. Not all states are the same. So big one. Little things can turn into huge problems. Miscategorizing your business, a missing comma. One of the biggest things that's been causing so much problem is when people are filling out the EIN lately. They've been not putting their full name, and that's been causing huge time lapses for people. We've also had people lately doing the scams with the EIN and losing a lot of money. What type of name you create can haunt you for years. This isn't really one that haunts you, but think about my name, Home Therapy Solutions. Well, now I have a clinic. Now we do women's health. So forth. It wasn't really the best name choice in the world, but we also stress, don't worry about names, because some people have told us that they haven't started their business because they can't come up with a name, and it's been like over a year. Even like all the way down to the type of email you establish can cause problems. We just helped someone that's been in a business for a couple of years, and their email wasn't a professional email. So like, for instance, mine is Kara at Home Therapy Solutions, which again, longest name, problem, don't do that. But some people are Home Therapy Solutions at gmail.com. Well, that's not a professional email. but just having to go through the process of switching emails and so forth is not fun and takes a lot of time and energy. When you would, if you would start right from the beginning, you could get there a little faster.
Well, and I think the other thing people get confused is trying to keep your business stuff separate from your personal stuff. And there's reasons to do that, to be able to track it and to also keep your company and business closed, which is a good thing for liability. And so, and then sometimes, you know, we set up these emails when we were in college or when we graduated from college. And I've had a few that I've helped people establish their business with, and I've sent them a message and said, you probably wouldn't want the doctor that you need the referral from or the patient to be reading your email name, right?
Yeah, the little things that we don't always think about. And this is a hot topic, and this can really make people angry or not or whatever, but we're just going to state it. You know, as PT, OT, speech professionals, we are licensed therapists. We have rules and regulations that we need to follow. You know, there's things that we just can't do. So, anything you want to add, or we just leave that for that? That can lead into a whole nother discussion.
I think there's two things. One, we try to just say we're not a therapist to get around the rules because we think we don't like them. Things like can't opt out of Medicare. The other thing is, again, going back to, that also means we can't always set up the business that a normal business coach would want you to in a state. There are other rules about it. So.
Again, you cannot just do whatever you want. Repeat, you are a licensed therapist. You have rules and regulations. There's state rules and regulations, national rules and regulations, insurance rules and regulations, compliance standards to meet. There's lots of different things because of the type of professionals we are.
Now, having said that, that doesn't meet them because, you know, look at Cara and I. There are lots of people that do it. It's just you need to be aware of them and take them into account.
Yeah, for sure. So these are a few things that we see on social media a lot that, again, aren't correct. And just make sure you go to the source, find the actual legit source. You know, independent contractors versus employees is a big one. And I will tell you, after going through an audit with this, I'm 100% happy that I did it right, because I don't want to have to be repaying money back and so forth. You know, cash-based versus insurance. I feel like there's a lot of headway being made on increasing the knowledge about cash-based and Medicare and so forth for the older adult population. Because, you know, a year or 2 years ago, it wasn't out there. And now I see more and more people educating each other, but there's still other people that are, you know, saying things that are not correct and that can get other people in trouble. You know, we hear this, just opt out of Medicare, just give the client an ABN, or we see, you know, my attorney created a contract, they can opt out, or this or that. Creating a practice and forgetting you're a licensed therapist, EMR recommendations. So we know some people that recommend certain EMR recommendations that aren't even really good for the type of practice you have. Now, obviously I'm biased because we use HelloNote in our business, and we use it for therapy business builder program. But there's a reason for that. And if people are coming to me looking for EMRs, that's why we have the whole list of EMRs and tell people to check out all of the different EMRs, because they aren't all the same. And like, I can't recommend HelloNote for a pediatric practice because we don't have a pediatric practice, and I don't know if it would be good. But for instance, for us, we like to use HelloNote because when therapists are in our program, having the CEO of Hello Note within our program allows us to see behind the scenes of everything. So if someone's having trouble with something in their notes or billing or, a denial or anything, we can actually help them. Versus if they used WebPT or Therabil or any of these other ones, we can't get into that system. So it's not saying that we think Hello Note's the only and the best one you have to use. But that's why we use it for our programs. Plus, they get 50%
and having said that, I used Clinic Source until just recently, but Hello Note is a much more reasonable cost of, so I moved to there. So,
right.
We are familiar with some others. Someone said giving someone an ABN is not enough when you actually do a wellness program. There's a right and a wrong way to use an ABN, and we do a lot of training with that when we're coaching people. But for a product that's never covered under Medicare, you don't need to use an ABN. And so you have to have really clear policies and procedures that define those products that you're selling and how you're going to do that and what makes it one, not the other, right? And so you need to be really clear with that. You can't just use skilled therapy and call it a wellness program. You need to have those very defined in what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Time, financial, and clinical freedom. Again, just reading something you're gonna have all the time, financial and clinical freedom. I think starting a private practice like this, the clinical freedom is 100%. The time, you have the freedom to do things when you want, but it's going to take a lot of time. And financial, it depends on what you do and your plan and how you grow things. So, and the fact that you may not make more than you did as an employee, but you're also not really taking into account all the other benefits in there. But those are some of the things we see out there. People just blanket recommend stuff, and I don't feel like anything's just a blanket recommendation. You always need to know the situation better. Okay, laws. Again, if you go on the Office of Inspector General website, they have great resources. They have some really great training on all of these different laws with the false claim, the kickbacks, things like that. Definitely worth going through. You need to have a compliance program, and they have some helpful resources out there. So I would definitely check that out. But, intent is not considered when prosecuting federal law. Some common investigations are the false claims, the supervision issues, kickbacks. Pay attention on social media tomorrow, how many times you see people offering free evaluations, or you see people talking about not charging for co-insurances, or you see people contracting with other providers where they're offering money for referrals and so forth. Then go read the Office of Inspector General and you'll know what kind of rules and regulations are being violated.
Yeah, and just a simple thing for a client that it's medically necessary skilled services, it's actually a $2,000 fine for each occurrence where you didn't bill Medicare for a Medicare beneficiary. But that's not even the worst part of it, is that they can actually go anything from you can never again bill Medicare in any job you work in to you will always have a 10% discount on the reimbursement that they give you. So, you just need to be aware of the implications when you make decisions.
Ways you can lose money. So these are all ways that we have collected from different people coming to us that they've actually lost money. Oh, we misspelled negligence. Oh, well. So misclassifying workers. Again, if you just Google like misclassification of workers and independent contractors versus employees, you'll see different lawsuits and things out there and what ends up happening. different audits. If you can get audited, of course, for Medicare, you can get audited for classifications. Like you can get audited from the IRS, you can get audited from job service, in your state. There's different things you can do. Negligence and delays in billing. People lose money because they don't submit claims or they don't follow up on claims, and then it's too late. People lose money because they don't understand insurance. One of the biggest things I see people is the Medicare fee schedule. They're like, well, this CPT code reimbursed $32 and whatever cents. This one 40 some and this one 30 some. Well, I billed 4 units. Why am I not getting paid for that? Again, it's not understanding that, no, you don't get exactly that amount. The denials, not following through with denials. Again, we see people paying for things that aren't needed or buying a lot of equipment or renting space. Another one is websites. We see people that come to us and they're like, we already have everything ready to go. We have our business set up in the state, we have our website, and we have our business cards. None of that, it means you're ready to go. We don't even recommend worrying about a website right away. We see a lot of people spending a lot of money on certifications when they're not needed. We see people spending money on things that are not actually going to save you time, money, or reduce your stress. Growing too quickly. I don't know if any of you guys that have a business on here have had this problem, but we've actually had therapists that grew way too quickly and then get in all sorts of trouble, whether it's behind on notes, behind on submitting claims, just not in compliance with anything, stressed, ready to just kind of give it all in. That's why getting a good plan and getting everything set up puts you in a much better system. And some of these things, people, are mistakes that I've made that have cost us money. Payroll system errors, bookkeeper errors, accountant errors, that can be costly. So there's lots of things to think about that I don't feel, at least I know I wasn't aware of when we started with that. We can give you some good places for compliance training and so forth. But again, go to the Office of Inspector General's website, and there's some good compliance information on there. We have some pretty cool things set up to help private practices with their compliance program as well. Okay, starting versus growing. So one of the best things we ever did with the Therapy Business Builder program, besides not doing everything for people, was dividing it into 2 groups, into level 1, which is everything from getting started to ready to, to seeing your first client. And then from growing, which is having your clients and going from owning your own business to being a CEO. So really understanding the stages and the things you need to go through in growth planning. For those of you that already have a business, do you guys have a growth plan in place? If you could put yes or no in the comment section, that would be really helpful. But this is something that we had to create over the last 6 months in our mastermind program. And this is something that we are having our therapist that we coach is the growth plan. And it's already made a huge difference in their growth as well as in ours. And when you're doing your growth plan, you need to know what is your final destination. So that's my next question. For you guys that already have a business, what is your final destination? What is your end goal? So we sat down with our therapist, and they had to, before, one of the first things we did when we're starting the growth plan is identifying what is your end goal. So if you guys do you guys all know what your final destination is? And this can change.
Oh, Clara, I'm seeing a lot of no's, partial, no, not written, you got me. No.
Kimberly, what's your final destination with your business? You have to have a final destination. Like originally, like my goal is to build my business so that I can eventually sell it, because I'm sorry, I'm not going to live here forever. I need to move down with you guys in Florida or somewhere. No, but what's your vision? Like, some of our therapists' vision is I have their goals written out. So what were some of them? To be able to make like 100,000 and have this employee. I mean, they had kind of specific visions and what they wanted to do. And then from there, you work backwards to create your goals to work towards that. And yeah, Holly, true. My final destination has definitely changed. And it does depend on community need and so forth. But I want you to think to yourself right now, in 5 years, not even thinking about your community or the changes, what do you personally want as a business owner? Do you want to still be seeing clients? Do you want to have these services? Do you want to be making this much income? What do you really want? And have that as your final goal, and then work back on your timeline on your goals to get you there. And then every time something comes sent your way, ask yourself, does that get me to my final destination or not? And then the biggest thing that impacted me over the summer that helped me transition from working in my business to working on it was delegation. Hands down, the best thing. My coach stressed, if someone can do it 80% as good as you, delegate it. And that's really tough for all of us, right? Because we think that no one can do it better than us. And sometimes we treat our business like it's our baby, and we don't want anyone else to take care of it. But if you want to really grow it and build it, then you need to delegate and put people in the spot. And there's so much more to it, of course, because then you need to grow your culture of your community, and you need to nurture, and you need to make sure who you delegate to, or so forth and all that. But really think about that.
And I think, well, think about, do you want it just to be one person? So how can you do that realistically? What does that look like? What does that mean you're going to say? So those are the things that you need to consider when you put that in place, right?
Yeah. Reese, it only took me like 3.5 years to delegate. So so always have your end goal in mind. Where you are is not where someone else is. And I think that's another big one. You guys, like, no one should compare themselves to me, because a lot of the stuff I've done is insane, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, and my husband and kids would say that as well. I mean, just doing way too much, and it's not worth it. And again, don't compare yourself to what you see online, because what other people are doing, you don't know what their end goal is. You don't know what's really going on. And I think that's really tough. It's really hard not to compare yourself to others. So, getting into the positive affirmations and self-talk, and really, knowing where you're going and what's going to help get you there, surrounding yourself with a good community to help you is important as well. There's no overnight successes. Again, I just get so mad at the whole marketing push on, you can make 6 figures in 30 days, I mean, whatever.
Just sign up for a coaching program and place these Facebook ads, and it'll all just come in your hands.
Yeah, it's just, don't be distracted by shiny object syndrome. Sue just did a coaching session, how all about shiny object syndrome. And again, we're horrible. So, remember, your time is also money. Experienced coaches and mentors can save you both. I don't know how many times I hear, I wish I would have used that resource. I wish I would have signed up for this program. I wish I would have done that because it would have saved me so much time and money in the long run. So it's how do we educate people and really get them to understand that if you just commit up front, it's going to save you so much time and money down the road. But sometimes some people just need to go through it.
I think it would have saved me a couple of years thinking about where I am now and what I wanted to do and retire if in a few years, like thinking about that earlier would have gotten me in a better place.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and just look at, you have that example of the one person that went from 0 to 15,000 in how many?
3 months.
3 months, and that's all from having you coach her, and having you help her focus and get the resources.
And she had her business set up for 4 or 5 months before she started coaching with us and with me.
But also go back to my timeline. How much time and money and stress did I waste over those times when I could have, if I would have focused and really worked on what I needed to grow the business? It's crazy to think about that. If you build a good foundation, it will pay off for years to come. And again, find a good support system. I mean, you have to have someone that you can call and ask, and if things, go crazy, to get that support to help you with that. Another thing is we do have some of our therapists get frustrated with us when they're in level 1 because they want to know some of the level 2 stuff. And we're like, no, you're not in that stage yet, because you need to focus and get the foundation built first. And that's why separating these groups have been really important. So think about yourself. Those of you that are just starting, you need to focus on getting that good foundation in place. Don't worry about the people that already have their business and are growing it. Now, you guys that are growing it, now you need to really sit down and think, what do I want? What is my ultimate goal? Now you need to sit down and make that growth plan and start working on it. Also think about the last few years, pull up your financial, what have you done and grown, and, look at all of that stuff. And in your growth plan, you need to have a contingency plan in place. What happens if something happens to you? Does someone know what to do with all of your paperwork, your clients, your computer? What's going to happen to that? You have to have plans in place. There's just so much more to think about than I think we always realize. Anything else on this, Sue?
No, I think that's key. I think just being that slow, consistent, working the plan, getting your basics in place, getting your systems in place, keeping your compliance plan in place, those things, getting that set in your process and your, having those whole processes put in place is going to pay off for the rest of your business line.
And again, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, I will tell you, my coaches told me way long ago to focus, stop doing all this other stuff. You need to figure out what you really want to do. Did I listen to them? No, not for another year. Did I listen to them? So, some things do come with trial and error and learning and adjusting from mistakes. I'd also say, a lot of us in our world got hooked up with some bad blood companies that offered, something that was too good to be true. There's therapists out there that signed up for some of that stuff that ended up losing money and so forth. So you need to do your research as well with some of the things that are going on out there. Okay, next steps. Surround yourself with reliable sources. Do your research. Again, you do not know what goes on behind the scenes. find a community mentor coach, but beware, make sure your mentor or coach understands your type of practice. And you might have a mentor or coach in different areas, but have a mentor or coach that is really familiar with the type of practice that you want to have. And that's another thing. When we first started the Therapy Business Builder program, we had all practices in there. Well, I'm not a good coach or a mentor for someone starting a pediatric practice. I mean, let's just face it. I wasn't comfortable with that, so we focus on people that want to do mobile hybrid practices like we do, because we know it. So depending on what kind of practice, like I wouldn't feel comfortable coaching a massage therapist, and if they want to do different things, but we can help people find coaches that are good in that area. So really try to find someone that meshes with you as well. The least expensive option is not always the best option. We hear it all the time. You get what you pay for. So really dig into things out there.
It's always the most expensive either, because they could be just very good at selling a gig.
Exactly.
I mean, we're rolling our eyes a little bit because we see that a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, people are getting charged way too much for what they get in a lot of situations. Look for long-term solutions and help, not just a short-term fix. Like when you're looking for your coaching programs or resources, something that just gives you materials or content doesn't always help, because it's once you get into things that you're starting doing those things that you have the questions, and having someone to ask those questions or find those resources are going to be really valuable in the long run. Set up your books the right way before your taxes are due in April. When you're starting your business, personal and business stuff completely separate, don't mix. Really getting that stuff all set up is so important. And again, don't compare yourself to others. Find people that are going to help support you, and you develop that community, but also not comparing each other and what's going on, because we're all at different stages and so forth. And like my husband said just recently, is this the 426th time that your business was going to shut down? I'm like, fine. I mean, I have those moments all the time when I stress and behind the scenes and panicking about everything. So even if I make it look like everything is glorious, there's always things behind the scenes that are extremely stressful. And I think sometimes people just show all the good stuff, right? So yeah, business taxes are due earlier, usually in March. Unless your accountant does magical things and extends it as well. So, which tends to happen sometimes.
Which I always, we teach to get our stuff done soon and also have monthly stuff.
And that's an important thing too. I mean, the whole finance accounting thing is huge because we see a lot of misinformation out there about that. But actually, we met with our accountant not recently. We try to do it in October, early November, to make sure that before the end of the year, we are making the proper moves that we need before the year ends. So yeah.
And again, I'm meeting.
You think about it in April or February or March or January, you're too late, pretty much.
Yeah, and I'm meeting with mine tomorrow, but that's not for this year's taxes. That's to be planning for what I'm doing next year.
Yeah. So. Now, again, I hate the pushing for joining our program. Sue and I are low key. People come and find us. We truly really only want to help people that want to grow or to start and grow mobile therapy hybrid practices, and that want the community of support. We pretty much say it how it is. with things. And, you know, in our therapy business builder programs, we do have the level 1 and level 2. We make mistakes. We learn from the mistakes. We utilize a variety of mentors and resources within our programs. I mean, obviously, I think we're the best for what we do, but there are other really good people out there as well. And let's face it, not everyone meshes with us either. So there are other great programs out there as well. Find someone that really connects with you.
I think what we want to say, though, is to make sure that they're providing you with honesty, integrity, and the legit information that's there.
Yep.
Because you want, when they give you something, you want them to give you the sources. Like when they tell you can bypass Medicare this way, we want them to do that. And particularly when it comes to things like home mods, you know, or anything, or wellness, you know, I mean, there's so much that we see out there that you really want to say, what are your sources for that? What does, you know, AOTA's attorneys followed up on something that I did for Medicare and found that what I had said is right, that Medicare covers home safety assessments, and under certain situations, your home mods program must bill Medicare for certain evaluations. So understanding that. So, you know, that's the key for what we want.
Yeah. Find someone that's going to help you. Also, it's not even Sue and I as a coaches, but it's the community we've created. So I think the therapists within our programs have become good friends and supports for each other. So it's the community that helps each other to know that you're not alone, because the isolation is a problem. So I think that's, you know, we just had our first next level experience, which again, just coming together and being surrounded by like-minded people is really ultimately. So we would love to help coach you guys and help you, you know, start or build your business. If you want to do home mods, you really need to check out Sue's certification course, because if you've done the CAPS, you've done some of those others, I've done them, they're not even comparable to what Sue teaches you to do. But if you have a different type of business, if you're looking for, you know, a biller, or you're looking for other resources, we're more than happy to guide you to some other avenues out there as well, because we really just want therapy professionals who want to start their business to be successful, and understand the positives and negatives that are out there. And by the way, I did promise to tell you, if you don't know, some new legislation is just coming out. So there are some big changes. We are going to still have telehealth in 2023 and 24. It looks like for us lymphedema therapists, it looks like we're going to be able, Medicare is going to cover compression garments and supplies. This is all still new info, so we'll keep you informed. There's some good news coming out for mental health. That will be great for us. Some crappy news is what we were hoping going to get passed with the OTA and PTA supervision in the private practice in the mobile world did not pass, but we're still hoping that that's going to be the case. Also, we were hoping there wasn't going to be any reduction in the physician fee schedule. It's going to be about a 2% reduction. But again, that's where it takes us to figure out what can we do for added service, added programs to help offset the Medicare side of things. So even though we are both huge advocates for Medicare and how it can benefit you, we also want to develop ways that we can do the private pay and different programs so that we can really get paid what we deserve to be paid. So those are some of the few things that are coming out. AOTA has put out some information out there. Rick Awanda's put some information out there. As far as compliance, we now have created a special thing with MedBridge that can help private practices that just have 1 or 2 people to get a lot of their compliance training. But that's just one aspect. You also need to create a compliance program. But MedBridge has an enterprise part of it. If you have 5 or more employees, you can sign up, and then each employee has the compliance aspect, which is like 30 some bucks. And then it tracks the courses and so forth, which is really nice. But a lot of our therapists start off with just 1 or 2 people. So we're able to provide that benefit without having to have 5. But there are other, again, go to the Office of Inspector General website for compliance type programs. Rick and Nancy and some of those people. We work a lot with Clarice. When it comes to mobile hybrid practices, that's where our expertise is to help people develop compliance programs to meet that. I know we had that question. Let's see.
So, Tara, I think one of the things I'm seeing there is what are the expectations and costs for coaching? I think there's such a range depending on your need, where you're at. If you're just getting started, you should get a reasonable cost coach, because that startup stuff isn't as difficult or as expensive, right? It's later levels that you're looking for more expertise that is skilled. And so it really depends. But
ask them what their ROI is, having them as a coach. How is it going to help you with your return on investment? Like, our goal is that we kind of have it broken down on, we help you do this so you can bring in more clients, which is going to pay for the coaching program and more. Also, getting a coach and a coaching program is a great tax deduction, which your time and energy and stress that you put into this isn't. So there's lots of things to look at it, but, ask them what is going to be the benefit. I'm going to pay you this amount of money. Is that going to really be worth it in the long run?
But have them show how, because they can often give you a good sales pitch on how.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of talk and not a lot of outcomes there. Whereas, we can show you people that we've helped, but you really, want to ask more questions about how it really works. How do you recommend starting a business, seeing a lawyer to help establish a business, or therapy business builder? Well, we're a little biased. We think your best value for money is probably therapy business builder 1. And the reason is we put it together to help you get there and understand it, and guide you through every step, because it comes with things that you can do on your own time and things that you work with us on.
But again, we meet with you before you ever decide. So that's why you can't just sign up for any of our therapy business builder programs online without either meeting with Sue or myself, because we need to know what you want, what your goals are, and then we can talk about what we can do and how we can help you with that.
Who could, and what are possibilities? Yeah. Because there are definitely times when it's not a good match.
Yeah. How did you find your coach? I've had a million and gazillion coaches. No, not really that many. But, referrals from other people. And again, finding someone that is doing what I'm doing and where I want to see myself, and understands the industry. Some of my initial coaches really were more, kind of hype type coaches than, I tend to be more of a concrete type person, like, tell me what I need and provide me with what I need and I'll get it done. And, so it depends. Do you want kind of a hype coach that's going to energize you and motivate you and work on mindset? Do you want a coach that's going to help you really grow and build your business and help you reach your goals? So there's lots of different options out there. I feel we have a pretty good list of coaches for different areas and different things that people want to do. And always ask, get recommendations and referrals and stuff as well. This is a great question. And honestly, I don't have a good answer for this. Can cash-based practice be as profitable as insurance-based?
I'm going to say it's really going to all depend on your community and the services that you are offering, right?
Also, it depends if you ask that on social media or not. I'm just teasing.
Well, I think that's true because, and it, I tried to do that in my community, and I talked to a couple of PTs that have practices, and then we realized that the high income persons in the community I was looking at just didn't exist to the level that would fully support my practice. So I do have some that are private pay and cash, but I also do a lot of insurance and contracts with the state. So I think it's understanding your community and understanding what the needs are that's really there.
And this is a good one. Obviously this, I'm not sharing any names, but I recently got this message. So if you have sent me a message and I don't respond, always feel free to respond again because we get so many. But it's been a while and I hope you're well. I had started out as private pay mobile therapy, but unfortunately has not been as lucrative as I had hoped. Since I have home health experience, I'm considering adding on to my service to a model similar to yours. So who better to assist me? I know you have different types of membership, but again, I feel like, well, Sue and I both, when we started, we saw all these therapists doing private pay cash base, and we thought that was the ticket. I think doing a combination can be a great thing, but your area makes a huge difference where you live, the types of clientele, the services you offer. If anyone likes pelvic health, women's health, go start one of those businesses, people. I will
telling you to go down the shiny object syndrome if you're there.
But I'm just saying, if anyone on here is thinking of women's health, pelvic health, wow, what I've seen some friends that are doing that from when we started adding that service to ours, and the need out there is huge. So sorry, Amanda, I'm not able to give you there's so many variables on it. I think a mix is great, but it also depends on your area. So who do you market your home mod and at home wellness services to? We are getting referrals, but very slowly. We would really have to kind of do a deeper dive with you to see like really what you have been doing. And
also work with you to find out what's in your community and your state, because that's kind of also going to dictate some of the options.
But think about, where are the people first of all, do you know who your avatar is, or your ideal client? You need to be 100% clear on that. And then, who else is working with them? Where are they? What are their problems? How do you solve those? And, building those connections, relationships, and so forth with that. I'd like to know the best ways to market my driving well program across the wide region of North Dakota and Western Minnesota. Well, Joy, we can sit down and talk about this sometime. We don't ever get to see each other. And look at Joy, I have your item that you need right here. She's also a hand therapist and helps me out in our business. And I found this that was supposed to be in our clinic in a pile of stuff. If you're setting your business up in one state and border another, can you cross state lines with mobile hybrid? And yes, licensed in both states. So we're in North Dakota and Minnesota. We have a business set up in North Dakota. We have a business as foreign entity set up in Minnesota, and there's other things that you need to be able to do with that. We have a question about contracting, paperwork involved with hybrid and non-Medicare or other insurance reimbursement. So again, it goes back to who are you contracting with? We contract with different home healthcare agencies. We also have relationships with other different kind of companies and so forth. Paperwork involved with hybrid, non-Medicare, other insurance reimbursement. I'd have to know more specifics. I mean, we work with attorneys and so forth to, with our paperwork and our policies and procedures and our manuals and things like that. When starting a practice, what are the top 5? What are the 5 top methods of marketing do you recommend that you have found work? Well, you need to be completely clear on what you're doing, what your niche is, your avatar, and you need to really work on developing relationships with the right people. And yeah, this could be well, I'm pretty sure we've done presentations on this, but do you have all of that in place first? I can tell you that sending out emails and letters and dropping off baked goods and food at doctor's offices is not it. Do you provide mentorship to new OTs? Yes, a lot. We've helped therapists we've helped students that are in their fieldwork start and build their own practices as well. So that's been fun. We've had therapists right out of school start and build their own businesses. I have questions with billing process with Medicare. Is it feasible to do it ourselves? 100%. You need to learn how to bill Medicare yourself. It isn't very hard. And then as you start growing, you need to then know when to transition that out. Mentorship to start home mod business. You're not going to find anyone better than Sue. I think we did the how do you find your coach, I hope. When were you able to provide benefits for your employees? So again, I didn't actually go, it wasn't until 21, right, that I actually finally made the move to have employees versus independent contractors. So we do have options for health insurance and, some of the other life disability insurances. We also do PTO and some of that other stuff, but there's so many other things that you can offer. Let's see. Melissa from Iowa. Hi. We do help PTs and OTs and OTAs and PTAs. So I think I got through them all. Did I, Sue? Did I miss any?
Yes, and those first ones disappeared when I got knocked off there for a little bit. So I'm glad you got back to those. I think that is all. Anyone else have any questions? Please feel free to let us know. Oh, how do you know, Amy's asking, how do you know when to move to employees and what these processes were? Well, I was slow at it. Usually we look at things like who's going to cover you if you want time off and stuff. So that's the first thing we're going to look at when we're talking to you about that. The next thing we're going to look at is realistically, when you're starting to get stressed in terms of time, trying to identify the tasks that are taking up your time, and then what are the employees that are going to fit best in your business model to then hire first. What does that look like to keep you working towards your goal, but also to be able to keep being profitable? Because you can't help your clients and you can't help your community and you can't help your employees if you're not maintaining that profitability. So that's the key. I want to do it, but I have no idea where to get the advice to set it up. Oh, girl, that's why you need level 2 with all our business handbook and our job descriptions and our employee contract.
You have it. And actually you're set up pretty well, Amy, because she's been through the full program, so she would only do the continuation. So
yes, exactly. So there you go.
So yeah.
there.
That would have everything you need with that. And again, it's also sitting down and really looking at what employee do you really hire first, and do you want to do part-time or PRN?
We do recommend not doing independent contractors in most situations, just because the legalities now, President Biden has just pushed out another rule that's aimed at the gig economy, which puts us at risk when we hire independent contractors. So we need to be very careful about that. So yeah, should be your first hire? I mean, it really depends on your business and how it's set up, but
yeah. And if you have I mean, again, a lot of people start with just OT or just PT and add on those different professionals and so forth, but there's also thinking about the admin side of things and how to transition into that as well.
And there's also state laws about how your business is set up as well. Can you hire the PT or the OT? In Washington State, we have some regulations regarding that. So it's understanding all of those as you try to bring someone on.
Yeah, great question. So if you guys have additional questions, please reach out to us. Again, if you reach out, we hope you all just take time and enjoy your family and so forth from here on out until the new year. But if you reach out to us, we can always set up a time to chat and visit with you and help guide you along the different path, because we may recommend us, we may recommend someone else, but hopefully we can help you with what you need. So thank you for spending the evening with us. I really had the goal of keeping it to the hour, but I don't know if we're ever going to make that goal, Sue. So you guys have a great night, and we appreciate you all being on here.
Good evening, everybody. Hope it was helpful. And make 2023 the best time to meet those goals and go out there and conquer it.
Just a second. I have one question. Someone that was online. Let me see. Okay. I'm currently listening through phone, but I cannot submit questions. Do you think the mobile practice module translates well in rural areas or would encounter referral issues? So I live in rural North Dakota. So like the town I live in, I think we're 1,000 people, but I am 10 miles from Grand Forks, which is like 50,000, and then East Grand Forks is like 10,000, so 60 some thousand. So I realize that's probably not necessarily rural, but this type of practice can be done in rural settings. But we would really want to talk about with you what kind of referral sources, what other services are being offered, what is your travel time, could we do combination of some telehealth as well. We know 23 and 24 will be okay. So there's quite a few things that we would need to look at, but it could work. And then another person, and then they asked, what are your thoughts on this model if I wanted to remain the sole therapist or have 1 to 2 extra staff, as I don't see myself growing to support several staff members? So, and that's where it's definitely doable. So in our therapy business builder program, we have therapists that are literally themselves, and that's what they want to keep it. I mean, they have a few people to help them on vacations or coverage or things like that, but they don't want to grow and have a big practice. When you grow and add a big practice, you also add on a lot of liability and stress and other things that come with it. So yes, you can do this with just you and a couple people. But I think you also need to realize that you are going to be the one doing the treatments, and be realistic about what you are going to bring in and how many treatments you need to see. So that is doable. The question on, can you please tell me about the new independent contract regulations being rolled out by this administration? So it's not even really new. It's just that the independent contractor and employee regulations are really not followed very well by people. If you go to, the IRS website, they have checklists and so forth. Your state has checklists to help you follow, and that you need to answer these questions. In fact, I have, so we have, I had this long document that we had to fill out on every single person. It's a worker relationship questionnaire, which goes through all the different questions, and it says, pursuant to section 52-0101, blah, 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 blah. A worker is deemed to be an employee unless it is shown that he or she has the status of an independent contractor. So there's questions that you need to answer and things you need to think about. Does this person, this person really should have another business? They should be working for someone else, not just you, if they're an independent contractor. Do you give instructions on how work should be done? Do you provide training? Does the worker have helpers? Are they engaged in services with you for an indefinite period or just a short time? There's tons of questions and things out there. If you just Google like independent contractor versus employees, you'll see a ton of it. But I think the biggest thing is just because people say they've been an independent contractor for 30 years doesn't mean that they were categorized appropriately for that. Because most likely a lot of people are not functioning as an independent contractor. So hopefully that helps. And Sue,
there are changes that were put in place in October by this administration that will change how you approach independent contractors. So again, it's following the more stricter rule, it seems like.
And states, right, Sue? So different states are hitting it harder than others too, right?
Yes, because we've both been through audits. I've been through audits with the nonprofit that set up from the state. So just knowing those rules and regulations and how to do it. So we recommend it's actually probably safest in a therapy practice to hire, in most situations, an employee versus bringing in an independent contractor to your business. You have much more control as well, but just with the type of supervision, training, and things that you're looking at, they generally better fit the classification for employee. Right, Cara?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Another thing that's really shifted over the course of time.
Yeah. And particularly now with this new ruling.
Because when I started, I had a lot of independent contractors, but again, they really did function as independent contractors because they were all working elsewhere, had their own business, just filling in for short periods of time if needed and so forth. It's the people that are using independent contractors as actual functioning as employees, basically. Awesome. Well, I know you guys on the East Coast, it's 10 o'clock there. So time for bed. Happy holidays. Hope you guys all have a great time. Stay warm and safe. And
safe driving.
Yeah. If you're traveling somewhere, stay safe. So thank you guys. Have a great night.